Welcome to Freedom Cast, where your hosts, Jordan and Miranda, show you how to get just a little bit more out of life. Are you ready to leave normal behind?
Welcome, Freedom Casters, to this week's episode of Freedom Cast. Miranda and Jordan are very happy to have you on the show.
Talking in third person now.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Jordan.
I'm Miranda.
Well, look at that. We are ready to talk about some cool things on this episode. Again, we love this episode, or this podcast in general. We love being able to give you guys some good tips, and also just to talk about certain issues as they come up. But we love this podcast. We love what it can do. We thank you for supporting us, even if that just means listening to us. We appreciate that. So
this week, we love talking about just random things. We enjoy the ability to pick and choose kind of what we're going to talk about, and and just be random and be funny too. And people, I think, and even myself, sometimes we can take ourselves too seriously. It's good just to talk a little bit about serious stuff, of course, but then to be a little bit ridiculous too. And that's what Miranda and I like. We like, and that's why we fit so good with each other, but we like just being able to be weird, random, but also dial it back and be serious as well. And that's our heart for this show. We hope that has come across so far. But Miranda's going to give you a little bit about what we're talking about this week on Freedom Cast. And oh man, am I excited to talk about this so much. Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about choosing a word for your year. So it is February, so we missed the New Year's resolution deadline. Good. You know what? New Year's resolutions, we can just throw those in a waste paper basket. How about that? Sure. Also, it hasn't been called the waste paper basket probably in the last 30 years, so I don't know where that came from. Yeah, it was pretty random. A random way to say it. That's all right. I think we call them trash cans now. The circular file. Circular file. So instead of doing a New Year's resolution, this is something that Mike Ashcroft, who is a pastor, he actually has a book about it called One Word. Isn't it just My One Word? My One Word, yes. There you go. That's the name of it. If you wanted to look it up, that's what you'd have to type in. Yeah. Well, I'm sure Google would do the rest of the work if you got the rest. If you Google My One Word, you'll see it. I think I got the important keywords. I missed but... You missed one of the words. I'm just helping you out. So the idea is to pick a word and use that word to dial in your year and focus on that one word. So Jordan and I have each picked a word, and we are excited to do this. We actually got into this because our life group decided to do this for 2018. So we thought it would be cool to kind of share our process with it so far, how we're doing with it, and just give you some motivation maybe if you don't like resolutions and you're trying to think of a way to make gains in 2018. This is a great way to do it. Yep, exactly. We're excited for it. We're excited for really just have a focus. I mean, that's what the whole thing is about. It's about having a focus word so that you have this one word that you can kind of look at and use that word as the lens for your year, for growth, for personal development, for whatever you are seeking out that year. It's really the lens through which to look at your year through. Yeah, and I think it's cool because resolutions can tend to be either too focused or too vague. You can say maybe I want to lose weight in 2018. It's just too vague. It's not focused enough. And then for me, one of my resolutions for this year was to walk better in high heels, and that's a little too focused. So I think that's just kind of like a subsidiary goal. Yeah. Good word. I don't think, thank you. I don't know if I used it well, but we'll say it was right. We'll say it was right. So it's cool to have a focus because most people nowadays can't focus well at all, and having one word really helps to just narrow it down. And it's enough to use that, like you said, as your lens for the year, and it can apply, like we're going to talk about later, to all sorts of different parts of your life, but you still have that one word.
Yep. And really, it's a word that, like we talked about, like you want to look at a lens through your year with, but it's really what is God putting on your heart as far as what He wants you to become this year? What things does He want you to tackle and learn and grow from? I think, and that's where a lot of resolutions can fail because they're just simplistic. They're like, oh, I just want to lose weight. I want to do this. And, the first thing about setting goals is that if you set either too many or ones that aren't specific, you're most likely not going to reach those goals. Now, you have to be specific, like I said, and that is what the one word is so good at, because it's like, this is what I'm working on this year. Now, of course, you can have a lot of other goals. Like Miranda said, she can have a goal where she wants to walk better in heels, and that's great. But how does that kind of fit with her one word? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, how that might fit with her word.
Ooh, the plot thickens.
Yes.
So in our life group, the way it was suggested to figure out what your word is was to kind of go home and just look up words. The My One Word, there's a good website with some pages that just have a list of words that you can look at, which is very helpful because sometimes when you're just trying to think of words, you can't think of anything. So definitely I suggest looking online, find different resources where you can kind of scroll through words, and as you're going through, write down any that speak to you, even if it's one you wouldn't necessarily think is your word. Just go through and pick out the ones that jump out at you.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to share a quick list that I wrote a post on Medium about this, and I'll link out to it in the show notes, but I'm going to list some potential words that you might want to choose. Number 1 is intentional. Number 2, surrender. Number 3, peace, focus, patience, discipline, courage, strength, freedom, or contentment. Now, obviously, you don't have to pick one of those words, but that will just get your brain thinking and your mind thinking about what you might want your word to be. Also important to note, your word can be anything that you want it to be. It doesn't have to be one of these words like discipline or surrender or intentional. I mean, those are great words, but your word can be anything. If you're a big superhero fan, like I am, and I really actually seriously consider this, you could maybe have your word be like Iron Man or like any one of those superheroes that you want to emulate. You want to emulate their, like, if Iron Man, maybe your word's kind of something like rock, like something solid, like I'm going to be okay this year despite circumstances, or I'm going to be a superhero. I'm going to be that person that people look to. You can utilize a word in any way that's going to work for you. And if it's something that, like I said, if something that works for you and it's something you're going to think about and remember, then you're going to be much better for it than just picking a word because you think it sounds cool.
Yeah, definitely. After you get a list of words, spend some time looking through them and thinking about them. Think about how you can apply them to your year, what kind of fits in well with where you are in your life at the moment. It definitely, for us, it took us a couple weeks, I think, to decide because we were, debating, going back and forth.
Yeah, it's good to ruminate on it.
Yes. If you want ruminate to be your word, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, if you want to think about stuff all year, you can use that, I guess.
If you have a problem with too much action in your life, maybe ruminate. Think about it a little bit before. But definitely to make it easier, it's also a good idea to talk to your significant other or to your family or a close friend. Definitely bounce your ideas off of someone else. See if you can kind of wrap them up in it too and get them to do it with you, because it's definitely helpful to bounce your ideas off of someone else. Because when you're just going over it again and again in your own head, sometimes you get stuck.
Yeah, and just as a side note, if this is something that you've done before, and we can just be a little encouragement to do it again, then great. But if you're like me and Miranda, we had never heard about this before. We didn't know that, it had never been suggested to us that we pick a one word and use that as a lens, but we are excited about it. I think it's just a cool way to focus the year and really to kind of take every challenge that comes your way, using the word as their lens to deal with that challenge. Like, how am I going to respond to that challenge? Or also when you're setting goals, like making specific goals, and how am I going to be intentional about completing my goals, or how am I going to be intentional about setting priorities and spending time with family, or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So those are just some tips we have to try to figure out what your word is.
Yes, and also once you get to the point when you have that list, you just need to pick one. Don't deliberate it, until June or July, because then you might as well just pick 2 words at that point. But just pick something. I think for both me and Miranda, it was like, we could go with this one, we could go with that one, but ultimately it doesn't matter. You can pick one word and have other auxiliary words, that go along with that, and that's fine. Really, because it's just that focus. And if it's going to be a similar word anyway, you're accomplishing the same thing.
Yeah. So do you want to tell everybody what your word is for the year?
I would be happy to. I did hesitate a little bit about sharing this just because, and normally I'm very open and very vulnerable with things, but for some reason with this, I was like, I don't know. But, me and Miranda talked, and we decided to stay true to our podcast and sharing our lives with people and being vulnerable. I decided I would share mine. My word.
Drum roll, please.
For 2018 is steadfast.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. It was very close. It was in very close contention with the word unwavering, but I picked my word steadfast because I wanted to have a year that was, that I was steadfast, that I was, seeing beyond circumstances and finding joy beyond the circumstances. And regardless of whether it's dealing with difficult things or whether it's setting goals, I wanted to be steadfast in decisions. I originally was really heavily leaning toward the word execution, but Miranda kind of talked me against that.
I didn't like that one.
She wasn't a huge fan of that one. And, if you do look up execution in the dictionary, it says like firing squad and all that stuff. I didn't think about that. I was really thinking execution as far as getting things done, because that's something that I need to work on. I need to work on finishing things and following through. And, if I'm going to say I'm going to complete something, doing that all the way, and it's not like I'm terrible with that, but that's
I think it's a bigger challenge for you now, especially this year, being self-employed and doing everything with your entrepreneurship. It takes a lot.
Don't you mean entrepreneurism?
Yeah. I think it takes a lot of self-motivation and self-direction, and I think it's a great word because that's something you really have to beef up if you're going to work for yourself. And I did kind of shy away from execution. We tried to look it up in the thesaurus and see what other words there were, but they all went with the violent version.
Yes. Another word that was close was the... now I can't think of it.
The one I remember is unflappable.
Oh, yeah. You liked unflappable.
That's a good word. If someone chooses unflappable as your word for 2018, please let us know.
Yeah, I did not ultimately go with unflappable. But again, it's one of those synonyms that I kind of have. I'm thinking about. Miranda's always going to throw that at me too. But steadfast is my word for 2018. I'm excited for what it's going to bring. Because like what Miranda said, I need to be constantly focused every day. I need to be thinking about the different tasks I'm going to do. It's just, I'm still adjusting to being self-employed and working from home and having all kinds of different projects going on and seeking out new projects, working on others, and kind of trying to figure out how to work all that together. But really, it's just being joyful despite the circumstances that may pop up. And it's also, like I said before, following through and getting tasks done, finishing things, thinking about new things and moving on to other things. And, also if I need to, I was going to say letting things die. I didn't really, I was trying to think of a better way to say that. Maybe just moving on from certain things. If I need to let a certain task just go away, if that thing is not working for me, If it's not part of the 20% of the things I'm doing that is really going to give me 80% of my results, it's not something I'm going to want to focus on. So just being steadfast to that, being able to see those things and move on as quickly as I can without getting stuck.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think it's a perfect word for your 2018.
I think it's great. Do you want to tell them your word, Miranda?
Yes, I would, but I need a drum roll.
Or we can be like Michael Scott and go and just keep it going.
Just keep going forever.
Come on. Are you ready? Go ahead.
Okay. So my word for 2018 is hugrake. So
I think you need to say that one more time.
hugrake.
Hugrake.
I have to, if you could see me right now, I have to use my whole body to say it.
Yeah, it's like a body language.
You
With
gotta use my
hugrake.
hands. Hugrake.
That one's going to need a little bit of explanation.
Yes, so that's my word, and that's all you need to know. No. So, this word is actually Icelandic because I think we mentioned this in another one. One of my other goals for 2018
I think we did.
is to learn a little Icelandic. So I figured, what better way to learn it than make my word of the year in Icelandic? So
Yeah, what better way? It was a perfect mix.
So even if I completely fail at my goal of learning Icelandic, I will know one word by the end of the year. So
Yep, you will.
So I will have accomplished something.
Yes. So what does hugrake mean, and how did you get to that point?
So it means...
Unless you forget to mention to our audience.
Yes. It means bravery, and to be brave. And for me, I picked this word. I forget the other ones that I was trying to pick and go through. I feel like I went through quite a few and bounced around a little.
No, there was one I suggested that you were pretty close to.
I can't remember what it is now, though.
Must not have been very good, because neither can I. I'll try to see if I can think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, but I picked it because sometimes I feel that I get trapped a little bit in my own head. Maybe I do overthink things when it comes to action, and I can be a little too reserved, I would say. So I wanted my word to be brave because I wanted to kind of have that encouragement, that word in my heart ready to go when I'm confronted with a situation where I could take an easy way out. I'm like classic, when it comes to fight or flight, I'm a flighter 100% of the time. And Jordan can attest to that.
Yes, very much so. It's comical.
If there's any sort of uncomfortable situation,
She's gone.
or whatever it is, in a blink, I'm out. I'm gone.
It's good.
Yeah. So I think in certain circumstances that can be a good thing, but sometimes it's worth standing your ground on things and fighting for what you believe in and for whatever that situation is. And I never want to let other people down or miss an opportunity to, show people kindness, because the easy way out is to just turn a blind eye. So that's why I picked bravery. It applies to a whole realm of things. It can be applied all over the place in my life, I think. So I'm excited.
I think one place I've even
see
seen it is just the fact that we're both introverts. And I saw Miranda just go up to someone she didn't even know at one of our Camp Gladiator camps and just was like, "Hey, I'm Miranda. Like, how are you doing?" I think it was at Camp Gladiator. It may have been somewhere else. It doesn't matter. But just that being fearless and having that bravery. I'm like, I'm really uncomfortable talking to new people, but you know what? I don't care. I'm going to go up and just do it. And really, it's that the Nike swoosh. It's just do it.
Yeah, I think that's what one of my other ideas was.
You were trying to, you're trying to find a word.
It's going to be like, do it or something.
Yeah.
But because I've always been really jealous of people that, the extroverts, that it's so easy for them to just pop into a situation and talk to everybody. And even when it comes to...
Like our life group leader, Kevin.
Yeah.
We'll give him a shout out on here. Or Tom Miner, I thought of too.
Yeah.
Just people that are so comfortable talking with other people.
So
and I'm
friendly.
me and Miranda both really have to we have to be very conscious and very much okay, we're going out on a limb, but we're frightened. Like,
here we go. Yeah, and I am one of those people that everything I'm about to say, I run it through my head once, think about how people are going to respond to it. So, I'm constantly, there's a reel in my head going of, all the possible negative outcomes. And it's better sometimes to just be open and honest with people, even if it's uncomfortable. So, yeah, it's definitely something I'm working on. This podcast even is a great opportunity to open up and be real with people. It doesn't seem super hard when we're recording this because it's just Jordan and I in a room. So it's a little different.
But we're also releasing it to a lot of people, and anyone can just listen to it. And it's people that, it's having that. It's the same thing with blogging. Like, it doesn't mean a million people are going to read it, but you're putting yourself out there. And that, again, I think we talked about that before. So good to put yourself out there. Frightening, scary, all of those things, but bravery. Hugaraka. Just do it, and you'll learn things along the way. If we get negative feedback, then we can use that to improve. Even if it might hurt, we can always use that to improve.
Yeah, and that's another place I need to improve is getting negative feedback and not letting it crush my soul. So that's another part of being brave is being willing to accept the outcome, even if it's a negative one, and just taking that and turning it into motivation instead of just getting upset.
Yep.
But I did want to make just a quick announcement that we hit 1,000 listens, which I think is really cool for this podcast.
Yeah. For some reason I thought you were going to make a joke and say, we wanted to make an announcement that we're pregnant. I don't know. I looked at your face and I thought I called something, guys. Nope.
As I said
and I was actually kind of frightened because I was oh no.
Surprise. It did sound a little like a pregnancy announcement as I was saying it.
Yeah, you verbalized it like that's exactly what you were saying.
That's how everyone who's about to give a pregnancy announcement
That's it. Yeah, you didn't tell anyone in your family or anyone else. They're just going to find out. That'll teach them to listen to our podcast.
I know. Side note, if we ever have children, that is how we're going to announce it. And it's who you can tell who listens to our podcast because they'll figure it out first.
I think we should do all of our major announcements on the podcast.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Hey guys, we're moving to Iceland.
I'll say, Mom, you gotta watch our podcast.
Yeah, my mom said it the same day your mom said it. So I've been meaning to watch that episode. No, Mom, you don't watch podcasts. Just for anyone out there that really thinks there's a video of this out there somewhere. And one day, I think we will definitely do some live podcasts. We haven't done any yet, but for right now, these are all audio-based.
Yes, audio-based podcasts.
Yes, that's what a podcast is.
So we got a little off track there.
That's all right.
But
what was the announcement again?
Just that we had 1,000 listens on Freedom Cast. I thought that was cool and worthy.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
But just keep listening to us, guys. Keep give us feedback when we talk to you, and we'd be glad to hear what you want to hear about on our show. And we'd love to. We are going to keep this going. Again, it's that steadfast despite circumstances, and I should have said before, despite results too. I think we have to take results with a grain of salt. Like, okay, maybe we only have, in my mind, and this is where I'm very different than Miranda. I think we've only had 1,000 listens, and Miranda's like, holy cow, we've had 1,000 listens. That's awesome. Like, she definitely has a better perspective on that. So I'm just using that again, that steadfast to, despite my results, just to keep pushing forward. And I think it is important to look at results for certain things. Like, if certain things aren't going well, then maybe you shouldn't spend so much time in those certain areas. But if we're doing our podcast just to it's a fun side project for Miranda and I, does it really matter how many subscribers or listens we have as long as we keep on doing it? Well, maybe not. So it's just something for me to continually think about. And also, I need to get better about celebrating my little victories. I'm terrible at that. I'm trying to get better. Miranda can tell you stories upon stories. I've been like, oh yeah, I got this, or I did this. And she's like, why didn't you tell me about that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've already moved on.
He just recently did a new book launch, Gladiator, and he got I came home from work, he's all sad.
Okay, I wasn't that.
Let me tell the story.
Okay, but it hit me a little hard that day because my guard wasn't up. I just wanted to.
He got one bad review from some troll online.
Okay, don't say that because he might listen to this. It wasn't a troll. It was a guy that had some opinions. He had his own feedback that I didn't agree with. He probably shouldn't have left me a review on Goodreads as a fellow author, which I don't really respect that too much. But I probably shouldn't have said that.
Said what?
I don't know. That's what
I'm
thinking.
Let me tell the story.
You tell the story.
So I wasn't getting into specifics. I
did.
I like using the term troll. Yeah, I just think it's a good word.
But if you were the person that left a review, you'd be very offended by being called a troll.
Well, to me, a troll is any negative.
Any negative feedback?
If it's online and it's negative, you're a troll.
But I mean, he had some points. But I mean, at the end of the day, he basically just disagreed. He wasn't saying my book was terrible. He disagreed with the methods that I shared, and I feel like that's not really a great way to rate a book. But
I feel like I'm mixing stories in my head.
You might be mixing stories. It was his prerogative to leave me that review. Now I did reach out, and he decided to leave me that 2-star review with a lot of whatever. I'll let Miranda tell her story. Maybe that still bothered me a little bit.
Let it go. Let it go.
I'm gonna let it go. It's just like, come on, dude. Come on, man.
We are just bringing up a lot of
pain.
Salty issues here.
A lot of saltiness. So, I'm not going to go. If someone says, hey, Jordan.
Here we go.
Okay, I'm fired up. Whatever. If someone goes, hey, Jordan, would you please review my book for me? And I'm like, yeah, man, sure. I'd love to do that. Can you send me a copy? And then the author's like, yeah, I'll send you a copy. He sends me the copy. I read the book. I'm not going to then go post a 2-star review on Goodreads and then email the author and be like, actually, dude, thanks for letting me read your book for free, but I hated it. And I actually already posted a review because I didn't agree with one thing you said in your book. You're right. He's a troll.
We have established his
If he's listening to this, he can, I mean, it's all good. I'm sure he's a nice guy. He didn't agree with something I wrote in a book, but let that be a lesson. If you're going to give a book a review, have good reasons to do it. If someone reaches out to you for a review, just email them your feedback. You don't need to go and kind of especially for an indie author, reviews are everything. Now, certain people are going to we're getting so off track here and this doesn't really matter, but just think about those things. That's all I'm going to say. Miranda got me fired up. She didn't even mean to.
I know. I didn't even mean to. I hit a nerve.
You hit a nerve because it's like, you don't have, and maybe we could just use that as a general lesson. And I need to take this too. Sometimes I was actually going to comment on something the other day, and I showed Miranda, and she's like, well, that kind of looks trollish. And I'm like, I can't believe you just call me a troll. Like, Miranda called me a troll. So that's
troll
something.
Police.
She's troll police. Troll police. That's something for even me to consider, and making sure that I'm not being a troll online, that I'm being positive. And you certainly can submit constructive feedback, but just be careful not to be too negative. And, as we say all that, as we talk about this troll, it's good for me to remember that I can do some of those same things. What is that? Beware the plank in your own eye. Yes. I don't know.
Like pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, all those cool sayings. It's just I guess just don't be hypocritical. But I may have been a little hypocritical just now talking about those things, but it's okay as long as I admit it, right?
Maybe. As long as you let me tell the rest of the story.
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Upset about this bad review, and then later on, and 2 hours later, I was like, oh, well, I'm sure you'll get some good reviews. He's like, oh, well, I got 8 other positive reviews today. So it's all what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on the little troll, or if you're focusing on the 8 positive interactions and reviews and people that you've helped. So just a little reminder to view the cup as half full.
Yeah, and just where your focus is, because everyone has those trolls, as Miranda calls them, that are going to post on Facebook or, send emails to you or whatever it is, interact with you in a more negative way. And I just think it's important to try to figure out how we're going to let those people influence us. Are we going to let them push us around? Are we going to let them change our mood? Well, maybe sometimes, and maybe there's nothing we can do about it. Like that day, I had my guard down, wasn't expecting my first review coming in. That's where it hurt too. It was my first review after reaching out about my book. And then you have all these like, oh, maybe the book's not good, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like all those thoughts that you have to wrestle with and deal with. So just, I guess it's important to, have your guard up, but at the same time being willing to accept constructive feedback and criticism.
Yes. I was about to go on another tangent, but we should reel it in.
Well, I mean, we've tangentialized this, or whatever the word is, if you want to go ahead. Tangentized.
So, and I forgot what my tangent was. Anyway.
That's okay.
Some ideas. We're bringing it back. Reel it in. To have your word present often and to remember it, which I think some of these are really cool. You can make it the password on maybe your Facebook account or on your email. You can, I made a little painting with my word on it, which no one knows what it means unless they ask. So it's a good conversation starter because it's just sitting up on a shelf. Hugrake.
I was going to ask you where you're going to put that, but you already decided. Okay.
Yeah. So there are, you could also get a bracelet if it's a more common word. I'm sure you can find on Amazon a bracelet if it's something like love or faith or happiness. I'm sure you could find those. And that way it's always on your person and you always have it there to remind you because humans need reminders.
Yeah, you could do what Miranda said. You could have a big poster board. I think some other people said you could, I don't think Miranda said poster board, but you know what I mean? Just by having the word up. You could get a marker or a dry erase marker or a mirror marker and write it on the top of your bathroom mirror so you see it every day. Like Miranda said, you can make it. I'm not going to make it the password to everything because I have a different password for everything. So I'm not going to do that. But I think it's just something where you don't want to get to June, July, August, and then just have it totally forgotten. Make it something you're going to be able to remember. Make it something you're going to be able to focus on. And that's why I said too earlier, if you have a favorite superhero or a favorite actor or a favorite book character or a book in general, you could just pick a name that this character has these qualities. Aragorn is steadfast and he's this amazing king. You could pick Aragorn from Lord of the Rings or, I was going to go into Star Wars, but we don't want any of the new Star Wars characters. So
different conversation for a different time.
I am not going to jump into another tangent.
So another cool thing is because we're doing it with our life group, we are going to be reconvening with a bunch of people talking about how we're using our word, how we're being challenged. So if you have some sort of group or some people to keep you accountable, you can meet up every month or so. Or if you have, what do they call it? Those brain...
Mastermind
groups. We've always dreamt of being in a mastermind group. Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day.
We'll
be in we'll find one. We'll find one that works. I think it's the whole idea of a mastermind group. For those who may not have heard that term before, it's more like business related. It's like how you're going to move your business along.
It's a group of trolls that gather.
But yes, it's a group of trolls. But no, it's basically just meeting with a group to discuss things. Like our life group is kind of like a life mastermind group, if you want to talk about that. But really, it's just people getting together to not just get together, but to discuss real things and to discuss goals. Now, like we said, mastermind is geared more toward business, but it can be an accountability partner. It can be a life group. It can be just a group of friends that say, hey, I want to do this together. And then you check in with each other once in a while, like, hey, how's life going based on what your word is? Like, how have you thought about that? Have you been thinking about that? Or have you gone a couple months without thinking? Okay, maybe what can we do to kind of reel it in and get you more focused? And how's your year going in general? Just to, all those questions are good. Find someone that you can meet with weekly that isn't a spouse or or whatnot. Or you can just talk with your spouse too. I mean, me and Miranda are obviously going to be talking about it to each other too. So,
yeah.
But I think it really isn't about. It's really about the change that's going to come from the word. You don't want to focus so much on the word that you're like, well, I didn't think about steadfast for the last 2 days. It doesn't really matter. Like, how's your year going? How are you accomplishing your goals? And is that word helping you to do that?
Yeah. Do you want to maybe kind of give an example of how you've used your word already this year?
Yes, I would love to. Would you like to give an example of how you used your word while I'm thinking of your question?
Yes, I would love to. But first, could you?
Okay.
No, I thought for me, my biggest.
I already gave you
so
an
far,
example. I already gave you a shout out for yours. That's not fair. You should have to do
what'd you
one
say
for me.
for me?
I said in Camp Gladiator the one time you walked up to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said hello to someone, guys.
You should have
I'm
to say
doing
something.
really
You should
good.
have to go for me.
I wasn't socially awkward once. That's my
I wasn't
accomplishment
socially
for the year.
awkward once. Yeah, I like that.
No, the one I was thinking of for me was I tried out for the worship team at our church, Life Fellowship, and to do it, you had to sing a solo like in front of the worship team, which was very much outside of my comfort zone, but I did it, and I love. I mean, I've sung one weekend so far, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it's going to be really good for me. So, yeah, so that's, when you overcome a fear, there's that buildup of adrenaline, and then you do it, and then you feel like that awesome high afterwards. So,
Yep.
it's awesome.
I can't really think of a specific thing for my word. Can you think of any for me? I mean, I think getting over that review thing, but that whole review thing shouldn't have been a big deal. Like in the grand scheme of things, that's not a big deal. It did affect me that day, but
Well, I think steadfast isn't quite as jazzy as bravery. It's more in the quiet moments. It's more in the persevering, even though you had a rough day, even though you've got some negative feedback. It's
or when people email me and are swearing at me because I sent them emails.
Yeah,
I got an email last night from a guy basically swearing at me, like telling me, how dare I send him emails and how dare I get his hopes up about something. Now, Grant, just to note, this was a guy that had been on my list, had signed up for my list because people have to sign up for my list, had received and opened several of my emails before this point, and then all of a sudden got mad for whatever reason. But that is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't control people. I cannot let that bother me. And that one did not, because I was like, you know what? People are going to be what they're going to be. Not that I want to get used to people swearing at me. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to that because it never feels good. I am sensitive in that way. Like I don't want people people's feelings to be hurt, but like some people are just going to be trolls, as Miranda says.
Yeah, but that's where I think for you being steadfast is just continuing to work hard in the day-to-day, even if it's mundane work, even if you're not seeing results right away. And I think you've done a really good job of that so far in 2018.
Well, thank you.
Just pushing through, even though it's tough. And, I'm very proud of you for that.
Aw, well, you're so sweet, honey.
But I think we need to do a podcast sometime because I really want to go on this tangent, but we're running out of time, about how people are just so different online. Because
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, we could talk for a while about that, because you're right.
Yeah, because some people will, but in real life, some guy isn't going to walk up to you and say those things.
But for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, and just yell at you and say awful things and then, walk away. Like, how dare you send me an email?
I will go on slight thing, but I still think I there's something about that just makes me laugh. Even more so if you did sign up and agree to receive emails from me. But I've had people where I've actually emailed, and they're like, I can't believe you send me this unsolicited email, and they'd give me this long, lengthy response, and dude, it's an email, just delete it. I don't understand being bothered by an email. I just don't get that. I deal with email all day. Like I'm constantly writing and receiving emails, and most people are. I think it's crazy how some people get so upset that they received one email from you. Do you understand that? You're looking at me like you can slightly understand it, but to me that is like so far beyond the realm of normalcy.
Well, I'm a little OCD about email
that's
tidiness.
true.
So if for me getting email that I'm not going to read, I just delete it. It's not hard, but I do like to maintain a very neat and orderly email. I have different folders, and I hate seeing like 2 unread emails. That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I always have to click it so it's unread and then delete it, because if you just delete it, it shows as one unread in your deleted inbox, and that's just as annoying. So
but you can but to my emails you can hit like unsubscribe. I even write in there, I say, hey, if you don't want to receive these helpful emails from me, and I try to make them helpful, I don't try to make them overly salesy. I'll say, hey, scroll down to the bottom, hit unsubscribe, no hard feelings. And then sometimes I'll make a joke like, yeah, I'm going to be crying tonight because I lost you. But it's just funny because it's so much easier to just hit unsubscribe or to delete the email than it is to send a 3-paragraph response to the guy that emailed you. And I purposely don't get into it either. I won't email them back. It's like the same thing about a review. If I get a review, I'm not going to like have a conversation with that person unless he's well-meaning. If he's sending me a personal email on a review and say, hey, Jordan, like here's some things you could work on. Here are some things I liked, whatnot. Like I'm all for that. Constructive feedback is fine. But if it's done in a trollish way, no, don't respond to it.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can tie that into the one word. You gotta.
I was trying to think how we can segue it back, bring it all together in a nice, neat package, but it's just not happening.
We're just gonna have to cut the tie, and you can send us out.
Yeah, take what you will, but if you want to pick a word, hopefully this was helpful to get you some ideas. We really look forward to our words and using that filter for the rest of this year. And don't be a troll.
Yep, I love it. All right, stay frosty, friends. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Freedom Cast. We love you.
Bye-bye.